afternoon, everyone. We have forum now, so we can go ahead and get started. I'll call the meeting to order. First, for attending and viewing the meeting, people can attend the meeting in person by coming to this room and first floor of the meeting in the library, streaming the meeting on the library's YouTube channel, and a recording is made available after the meeting. Now we have time for a public comment period. Public comments, well, I'll move on and call to order and roll call. So first, Angela. Laurel.
Here.
Nick. Here. Teresa.
Present.
Steve. Here. Adam. Here. So, motion to approve the order of the agenda. Second. Thank you, and we'll all vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes. Good. Moving on to the updates and reports this evening. First, we have the Rochester Public Library Foundation report.
Hi, I'm Brenda Cardock. I'm the director of the Rochester Public Library. We do have a slide packet. We're working on our holiday shopping auction, November 23rd to the 28th. There's 65 really cool items so far. Check if you want to see what's there. If it's very let me know. That would be awesome. As of the 16th of August, we were 80% full, but now, as of this month, we're 5,000 over. So we're happy that we meet our budget. So we've ended the year in the auction and everything. So that's great. We're participating in two events. Park reopening this weekend, and then open house in the library on the 1st. Excited about that. Public foundations for the library. And the last thing that we're starting to look at of understanding the library, so that everything is not detail, but it explains what our relationship is and helps us quantify things for higher us disclosure. We'll hopefully be getting anybody have any questions? Fast.
Next, we have the Friends of the Rochester Public Library update.
Hi, I'm Val Kalashevsky, president of the Friends, and our update is we will also be participating in the Cascade Lake Park Community Celebration. We're going to be selling used books, a table set up with used books, and we'll be passing out store coupons and spreading the word that there is a bookstore in the library. Please come shop. We will be inside the new Cascade Lake Pavilion building, which is a fully enclosed building that the Parks and Rec will be renting out for events in the future. We will also be participating in the library open house. The bookstore will be open from, is it 11 to 2?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember. I have an old version of the document. Whatever that thing says.
It's 11 to 2.
Okay, thank you. And then we're not normally open on Sundays, and we just have a lot of events, with the Cascade Lake, and then we have our autumn book sale. We have a lot of Sunday events, and they just couldn't find enough coverage to have the bookstore open all day on that Sunday. And then our autumn book sale is the second weekend in October. Full dates and times are on the handout. And the last late breaking news that I did not have when I put together that document was on Saturday, October 7th, so the weekend after the open house, there is a Nerdin' Out Con 5 in the Mayo Civic Center. And so always in conjunction with that, Pat does a lobby sale she calls it the Nerd Lobby Sale. So that will be that Saturday, October 7th, from 10 to 2 in the lobby. She'll have science fiction, fantasy, graphic novels, games, puzzles, and a microscope. So if you're in the market for a microscope, it was probably one of those things that we had at our Curiosity Emporium sale that probably did not sell, and so she thought maybe some nerds might want the microscope. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Next, we have the South Eastern Libraries offering your Cellco update.
Yes, so Selco, their budget was established back in May, but they're going to receive $4 million in funding from the state next year. And they passed a bill to tie funding to the inflation index formula, which will stabilize funding from year to year for Selco. That's great. Selco will also receive additional regional library basic system support funding. And that the board voted to revise the 2024 budget to utilize the additional funds by reducing ILS fees for libraries, which we don't at RPL use, but I bet you should know that that money that came to Selco is not coming to us. It's $112,000, and also $59,000 for PC support for libraries, as well as some small items. One of the proposed uses of the additional funding was to create a youth services consultant position. The position was added to the budget, however, the position is not a high priority for some of the libraries. So Selco is going to hold further discussions about the position and its alignment with the strategic plan and the regional community assessment report. The position will not be filled until these discussions are held, including discussion by the personnel committee. I wanted to especially bring that up. I don't know if that's something we would have a comment on from our perspective, RPL, that I should bring back to Selco.
I can comment on that. Our comments that we shared from our library perspective is we have a pretty robust youth services team, and so there were a lot of comments from a lot of libraries that do have youth services staff in-house that they might not tap into a consultant.
So it's kind of under evaluation whether or not they're going to keep that position. They kept it in the budget until we reevaluate it, and maybe the role becomes something different. So it's up for discussion still. That's it.
Great. Next, we have the library open house. Tackle that.
That's me. I got visual aids, so I'm going in front. Hi, for those of you who know me, I'm Brian Lind. I'm one of the reference librarians here. With Sarah, librarian 2 there, and manage that. So we're very excited about the library open house, October 1st. All day long, we have all sorts of activities, and we have all sorts of fun craft things. We have these exclusive, only day of 300 library signs. So come early, get your library sign. You can have all sorts of photo opportunities. For those of you who don't have appropriate neckwear, if you have it, or those of you who have contacts, you can pretend for a day. Let me just run down a list of the things that we're going to have there. So we're going to have youth story times going throughout the day. We're going to have spooky stories for adults, more like Edgar Allan Poe sorts of things. We're going to have an area upstairs where people can come and play board games and promote the collection a little bit. And we're going to have the craft. We're going to do things like this. We're going to have the librarian is in. It's kind of like the old Lucy Van Pelt's, the psychiatrist is in. It's going to be a reader's advisor, so if people want to get some good book suggestions, we're going to have a special place dedicated to that. The book wheel is going to be out front, and that's always a party. And like Val mentioned, the bookstore is going to be open for part of the day. That's awesome to have the bookstore open anytime on Sunday. We're going to have kind of a scavenger hunt. There are going to be 26 signs, like the 26 letters of the alphabet, promoting different library services and things that people may not know. So people are going to get a chance to go around and check on a little map that they visit. We're going to have some volunteer information up if people are interested in that. We're going to have an area, a post-it community bulletin board area. We'll have some questions up there, and people can put their responses up there and share that with everybody. Youth Services is going to have a craft of like a little mini book in the area, not far from the auditorium. One thing I'm super excited about, we're going to have a virtual book box that people can get their pictures in, kind of like the Barbie boxes that came up during the Barbie movie. It actually has two pieces of giant plexiglass, which we already have. The first one's going to be the front of the book box. You can stand between the two pieces, and then the second one has the actual books of the book box behind it. So I think that'll be a fun photo op in addition to all of our little props that are going to be all over. So lots of photo ops. Let's see, yard signs. We're going to have stickers on all the public desks and the open house maps. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We have extra staff on hand to help out. And we're really looking forward to it. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you. Next, moving on to the consent agenda. If anybody saw those ahead of time. Motion to approve the. I would move to approve consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, moving on to the reports and recommendations. First item we have is the youth representative role.
Yeah, so in your packet, you'll see the draft library youth representative role description. This was put together by 2 interns who worked with the city over the summer and working with the mayor's office and other city departments. They listened to the last board meeting where you gave some of the ideas of what should be included in the role and put this draft position together. So, any feedback on that?
Yes, there was something I wasn't sure if it was if it didn't make sense. It says resides in Olmsted County, and then the next line says 1 within the city of Rochester, which implies 2. Because they have to be in Rochester? We have one in Olmsted and one in Rochester.
And that was a question, so previously we had 1 or we had 2, like,
Okay.
so that is definitely a question for all of you, if there would be a desire to have 2 and have 1 that resides in county, 1 that resides in city limits.
The last one we had, she was a Rochester.
Yes.
She was.
And just went to yes.
Okay. And it's possible that we may not get a county representative. So we could end up with simply 1 person from Rochester if we don't. I was looking at the key responsibilities, and this is somebody that would be chosen ultimately by the mayor. And this person is going to have to be from the key responsibilities. Is very active. Somebody that has connections with other youth, not simply because she or he is a youth, but is active in organizations that exposes she or he to other youth that she can. Was that there before?
Before, the last youth rep was a member of the youth commission, so you could say that would
Right.
be their connection in the community. How they were selected for youth commission, I don't know.
But she already had the kind of a network of other youth.
Is there a position in on it? Just 1, if there's 2.
Is the county one, is that added this time, or has that been added? One from the county, 1.
That really just is a nod to the board makeup that has both city representation.
Two isn't a bad thing, especially because the students who tend to be engaged in things tend to have a lot of conflict. So if we get 2, we got 1 person.
Cities outside of that do have their own factors. There are pockets of the community where they don't. But yeah, or they could be very close to the city line, just over the boundaries in the county.
I'm smiling because I'm a county representative and the city limit is my property line, so. If you move the property, yeah, move the city limit, I'm in the city.
Any other thoughts or feedback?
I really like that there's something summarized here, particularly the mayor.
Felt the interns did a really good job, so kudos to Anusha and Mira.
With vacancies for the board in general, we have similar to this that outlines the board responsibilities for a regular board member.
Don't think we do. Something like
City
not
website, but-
as detailed,
Right.
but
I'm only thinking as I've had people who have questions. Oh, it's I've had, but if it's within line of the rest of. That. Next piece, we have the executive committee nominations. Typically do these executive committee nominations for the end of the year, calendar year. There's been a few changes this year, so the executive committee met 2 weeks ago to talk through that. We lost one board member, Kristen. Board position for vice president. And also, this is my last. Family and I are going to be moving to Milwaukee next month. Starting there, so. Another well, and this president. I want to take the opportunity in the September meeting to announce nominations for consideration that would then be voted on at the next meeting. So as I said, the executive committee met a few weeks ago to look at the following nominations and recommendations for the remainder of this year or next year. For president, we would be nominating Nick. For vice president, for secretary.
Feedback, I think it's great, thank you for agreeing to take on these roles, and I promise I'm hateful for. Can't say I'm.
you know you would be nominated? Are you already?
and you're not moving.
Not that I know.
3 in the first.
For us, where that's really sad that I can't. But and all of that. There was some debate whether I could make that over meeting or not. Vote on that then. Meeting. Item we have is the Celco operating contract. Approving the Celco homestead contract.
Yes, so this is something we do every 5 years now. We did it 5 years ago. This is the agreement that is between Homestead County, Selco, and libraries within Homestead County. So the agreement was included in your packet. It was approved by Homestead County Commissioners in August.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I guess did we officially vote on the youth representative role? We probably should. We need a vote for that.
Other board members?
When would this selection be made?
Hopefully. I mean, a lot of it is, the mayor's office is in charge of the process of the selection, so it really is.
We're gonna have, after Adam leaves,
Now, those openings are already been posted and shared, so that application process is open. But yeah, currently there are two, including Adams, there are two.
what might not be until towards the end of the
Next, informational items, and wait times.
Yeah, so this came as a question at our executive team meeting, and it's a question we get all the time because people want their items, and when we have a collection use of over 2 million, then we see we see these questions and hear these questions at the desk. So we thought it would be really helpful to kind of go through some of the data that we have, as well as some of the things that we do to try and mitigate, because we want to serve the community and get people's hands full of the things that they're looking for. Just a quick reminder, next slide, I will tell you, because of our unique technology setup, for my friends who are going to help me with this presentation, we just need to let Jeremiah know and he can forward the slides for us. But again, over 2 million in collection use. Year to date, when you look at our monthly report, our collection use, we have a 9% increase over last year already. 1.5 million in collection use so far through the end of August. So lots of people are using things, and that obviously has some of the impact. The collection breakdown, we continue to increase that digital collection. Our physical collection size is limited with these spaces for which we have old set items. Slide. So we do have that public perception that it takes longer to get things. For some folks, it's a tie to going fine free, that because the library is fine free, then there are longer wait times. There are a lot of things that go into how long it takes to fulfill a hold for customers. And we do have a very robust wide collection. We don't just buy just solely popular titles that everybody wants. We do have one of the most robust collection in Selco. So we continue to battle this. We're not the only library that battles this. How do we keep serving community and have that robust collection, but also we do have some better tools now that we didn't have when we went fine free in 2020. So the short answer is that we don't have a data point to say because of fines, it takes longer or shorter to get your items. But preface our presentation with that, spoiler alert. But we do have some other data points and information. So I'm going to turn it over to Kate to talk about some of the things that we have and can be monitoring moving forward.
So Blue Cloud Analytics, or BCA. This is a tool that we have available to us now that we did not have prior to going fine free. I have a dashboard set up in BCA that I can monitor current wait times going forward, and a report that is set up to run monthly, so we can grab that snapshot data and keep an eye on that. So unfortunately, we do not have that historical data, as Karen said, so we can't compare our current data with previous data. However, I have a couple of case studies that I thought you might find interesting. First is Hennepin County Library, which is in Minnesota. They have a service area of 1.2 million, so quite a bit larger than us. However, they saw only an increase of 3 days for hold wait times after going fine-free. They found 88% of materials were returned by the due date, as well as the number of requests on titles with a wait list decreased rather than increased, which is what they would expect if wait times were significantly impacted. And they concluded that overall that their collection availability was not impacted by going fine-free. If we move across the country to the East Coast, Somerset County Library in New Jersey, a little bit closer to our size, 345,000 service area. They reported an increase of 2 days for hold wait times after going fine-free. So although we don't have this data, we can conclude that it's probably pretty similar to what other libraries are seeing. So this slide shows a snippet of the dashboard, just one little piece that I referenced earlier, and this is the average days to fill holds for all physical items. We can filter by item type, library, all other categories that we want to help us monitor those wait times. So if we want to look at just nonfiction or just adult fiction or whatever it is that we want to look at, we can look at that. But this number is average days for all holds. So 81 might seem like maybe that's a big number. But what is really important to note here is that this number includes on-order items. And feel free to chime in, selectors and AT. On-order items can be put in the catalog and holds can be placed on those items up to 6 months prior to the publication date. Additionally, publication dates can be pushed out. So essentially this number includes all those on-order holds that are placed potentially greater than 6 months before we receive the material. So this number is really good for us to have because we can see if it goes up or down, but it's actually it would actually be lower if we didn't count that 6 month time frame. We're not able to pull that out without pulling that entire hold out. So this is how we look at it.
And I'm gonna add here, if that's okay.
Yes, please do.
The majority of the items that we buy in advance are those really popular ones. The James Patterson, the Colleen Hoover, the ones that get 100 holds within the first 2 weeks, that those items are available in the catalog. We did study this as a team a while ago, when I say a while ago, a long time ago, about whether or not we wanted to make it more than 6 months in advance of the publication date. Because we do have people who, when an author has a glimmer in their head and posts on their social media that they're going to be coming out with another book in 2 years, we have people ask us for that. And so it's balancing getting the item in the catalog so people can place the holds right away when we know something is coming out with, and so the majority of the items that have the really long waiting lists are the ones that are in the catalog for the longer period.
So I understand, so the 81 days, that's a calculation that's a global calculation from the whole collection?
All
Everything.
physical materials, yep. So that
No matter what
includes
it is.
hot spots, yep, it includes everything.
Even if it's something that's 20, 30 years old, that's in the calculation.
If it had a hold placed on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is a shared. Yes. I'll talk about this one again because I pay a lot of attention to this. As over 50% of the digital collections are fiction right now, and that's where the majority of the holds are. I can show you a report that shows how hideous that is. Before the pandemic, before our unique users for digital collection tripled in size, it was about 45 days. This is from my memory. Okay, I was panicking in January when it was up to 71 days. Because that seems like a really long time for our digital titles, especially when they're available the instant I buy them, right? So I have been working, and I know some of the other selectors have been working on some new lending models that are available for digital collections. Before I ran out of money, every week I would look at titles where I could buy 100 at one time and do some simultaneous checkouts. I was able to bring my portion of that down, and so as of August, we're now at 67 days. It's going to go up before January. It just is. And Kate has talked about doing a point in time, the same as she does for the Blue Cloud Analytics that she does for the physical. So we'll be able to see how that moves over time.
And we're going to continue on the next slide. I think it's also Kim talking a little bit about our physical and digital.
Yes, this is a really big deal. These are the overall use patterns for all audiences, physical comparison to digital comparisons. And you'll notice pre-pandemic, 28%, not as big a deal. 2020, when we closed down digital items, we invested a lot of money in that, so there's that self-fulfilling prophecy as well. But for some folks, that was like the safest and easiest way for them to get materials. So our number of users really grew. In 2021, when the library reopened, we started to see a minor decrease in that percentage. And what we did find is that really varied significantly by audience type. The portion of checkouts for youth prefer the physical in front of their face. I think the parents also prefer to get their kids off the screens a little bit more. I don't know if that's accurate. So the percentage of digital that went out to youth went down. Fiction stayed 1%, right? So in 2020, while it was 44% of overall, it was 50% of fiction. Now it's like 48% fiction, and we're starting to see some adjustments. I think 2023 will be closer to what would be the new normal as we've had time to adjust our user patterns. What I am struck by and what I've had the conversation with is the number of new users has really grown. Other things that also help that too is that we have reciprocal agreements with the Selco region and the Traverse to Sioux region. That does allow some of those holds to be filled by other libraries and some of those collections to be better utilized.
So please tell all your friends if they are using Libby to make sure they add Traverse to Sioux and Selco, because it does expand what you can.
One more note too about the youth items. Was it last school year? There's a new agreement with RPS where it's much easier for students to borrow our digital materials using their school provided devices. And we've seen our digital cert go back up.
We know for new users are using more digital or appliances.
There are some things that we are looking at with, again, the Blue Cloud Analytics and Orange Boy tells us about our digital users. An example of that would be my bookmobile team was always telling me, Kim, you're ruining our circulation with your digital. All of our bookmobile users are using digital now. And they're not wrong, because I can see with the Orange Boy reports how many people who are using the Byron bookmobile stop, which doesn't have their own library, and how that usage of digital has grown.
So does the system let you isolate new users?
I'll defer to Jeremiah. I don't think it can do it without us doing some work, but we might be able to figure out new users to the collection, new users to the library where their use is coming from.
Possibly, because we don't really have a new user classification. But I'm trying to remember if one of their categories might be new user, like before they get placed into what their actual usage categorizes them as. That might be one that we can sort by, but I'm not sure.
And we can see growth in the clusters. So Orange Boy, what that tool does is it starts to say, okay, you're using digital, so you're a
Digitarian.
A digitarian, or you're using a lot of youth materials and they call that like
Bedtime stories, I
bedtime
think?
stories. So they can lump it by the type of materials that you use, and we can see the fluctuation in that.
I also wonder from 2019 to 2022 if there's perhaps some kind of a technological trend that increased the digital use in those 4 years.
I would say that technological trend happened before 2019. Checking out digital books used to be really complicated. You had to download it and sideload it to your device. When they went live with Amazon, that added 10% users who use Kindle. That's been pretty consistent. 10% of our digital users use Kindle device. And then the adding of Libby made it so much easier to check out. So a lot of the technological barriers were solved prior to 2019.
Yeah, and I wonder maybe the library did more PR kind of stuff over those years too, and which resulted in the increase. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't even know about it, and maybe over that time, through the efforts of the library in some ways, that.
Also, moving away from CDs to more downloadable audio.
That is definitely a big trend. For fiction, I don't buy audiobooks on CD anymore. 94%, 95% of all audiobook circulation is happening.
Any other questions about the digital space, and then we'll move back to Kim to talk about his collection development. Okay, so next slide. So each division does their a little bit different flavor to how they do collection development. So we'll start with Kim and what they do.
Our collections are primarily popular collections. So I really feel this pain, and I feel we used to have a holds ratio of 1 to 5. I haven't been able to maintain that since the budget cuts in 2023, I think. Or no. It's been a long time. It went from 5 to 6, and now it's like around 7. What's really hard for the fiction collection is that's also the collection or the user group where we've seen the most digital use. And we got $20,000 in 2005 for digital collections, and that's the only time we ever got new money for digital collections. Every piece of money that we use for digital collections had to come from somewhere else. Now, the audiobooks is pretty easy because when people stopped using audiobooks, that money goes to the digital audio. Fiction was a little bit harder because we have such significant demand, both digitally and physically, for fiction copies. Because we have limited space, we don't have the depth for the older titles like we used to. We're not able, because of our space, as much as I'd love to, can't keep complete series. We buy copies to meet demand, and then we have to regularly maintain that. So when popularities for the newest Sanford title wane, we drop it down to 5, and then the next year it might be 4 copies. And the Friends are saviors for our fiction popular collection because the popular materials we get donated are also added to supplement that collection. And as we've had experience that we can kind of sense which ones we're going to get in donations versus having to purchase.
Just from the circulation statistics, the audios have dropped. If I'm looking at this right, in 2019 they were 41,000. In 2023 it was 19.
The physical?
No, this is audio.
It's certainly not digital audio because I can get you different.
Okay, so that means physical.
That's physical, and yeah, we have seen a very significant drop in physical
And why?
audio because everybody shifting to digital.
Digital does not skip.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even have CD players.
Yeah,
so
CD,
it
and audiobooks have always gone the way of the cars. We used to have audiobooks on cassette because that's what cars had. When cars started putting CDs in, people stopped wanting to use the cassettes, they did the CDs. Now cars don't even have CD players. So we're at that point where we were when we had a CD and a cassette, and if the CD wasn't available, that would be the only reason somebody would pick up a cassette. We're past that with the digital versus physical. The population that checks out the physical the most are nursing homes and home out individuals, and many of them have also transitioned.
Move on, we'll go back to him also for the bookmobile collection, and how that is a little bit different.
I did have a question about the holds ratio.
Yep.
So you can go back to that, yeah. So the goal is to have one copy per set of holds.
Correct.
So if you have a copy of something and there's an 8th hold, does that trigger another order for another copy?
Not automatically.
Okay,
Those get
how do you-
reviewed. So it's complicated. There's a little dance that happens between circulation and fiction. It's different for youth and for nonfiction because of the nature of our collections and our users.
Well, let's just say fiction.
So what happens is if we have more than 7 holds on a copy, I get an email from Deanna that says, hey, the list is starting to go up, and I'll buy a copy for the book. Some authors I can anticipate that I'm going to have a lot of holds right away, and I purchase. But as holds increase, that does increase, or it does trigger an order. We're not always going to buy it. We're seeing a trend, and it's impacted youth materials more than fiction. But Book Talk has totally changed the demand for books. So I might get a book that's 5 years old that all of a sudden I have 2 copies and I have 30 holds on it. I may not be able to buy another copy. And I might weigh it a little bit differently with the demand because it's an older title. I have to weigh all of that.
Well, I'm the guy that kind of brought this up because I had, well, it was a Carmen McCarthy book.
Yep.
Okay. So I wanted that one. So I reserved it. I looked at my hold and it's on number 28. Mm-hmm. And it was a Pulitzer Prize winning book last year, the year before, called Trust. Great book. Maybe I was up to 30. Yep. So I haven't bought both of the books myself, but I'm thinking of the message that maybe it gives to people that see that their number 1 is stagnant. And I think I asked, was there a way, if you do order more books, for example, like for press, let's say you ordered 3 more, is there a way on the OPAC to show that you are number 5 for copy 2?
It's not.
There's not. Mechanically, you can't. Okay.
The best answer is, although it's possible, the level of error with that data causes more problems than it solves. We have that to some degree with the digital because they have a little bit more control over that. We've looked at it. It is just very unreliable data if we were to do that average wait time. What we run into is people coming to the desk and saying, it said my hold was going to be available in 3 weeks. It's been 4 weeks. Where is it?
Number 28, I'm thinking, well, it's 2 years. I should be okay.
When we're working with people, we usually let them know we've got 5 copies. You're 28.
It would show on the record.
Yeah.
But it never occurred to me to even look. I was just concerned about kind of the reaction that people have because people that are asking for these books are kind of refined readers. I was just concerned about. It's not a great.
I have more money. I get that
Yeah,
much
I understand.
shorter.
So, but if I had a hold on Carmen McCarthy book and you ordered 2 more, let's say, my number 28 would automatically drop.
Well, your
Because
28
I only
would
got 3 of them.
would be filled faster, so you go up the list faster. You'd still be 28.
But I
But
might
now
check
there'd be 5 copies
Yeah.
to fill it.
I might check next week. I might be 15.
Correct.
The other piece that's happening with all of those holds is we're reducing the checkout period. So instead of a 4-week checkout period, it's 2 weeks, so you'll also.
So
have
in that
faster
case, the
turnaround.
Carmen McCarthy book, you would put that on 2. And that list would move faster.
Faster. And we also, because the fiction, and again, you were
nonfiction reader who likes that good stuff, we have something called quick picks. So anytime where we have a lot of holds, we'll buy a quick pick so that
Yeah.
people do have the opportunity to occasionally skip the line. It does have a shorter loan period. It does give us a little bit quicker turnover time, and that also helps impact those
So if I was
wait lists.
28 and I went over to Quick Pick and saw it,
Then you
I
can
could
grab it.
take it and I'm off your wait list now.
Correct.
I'm rid of me.
Correct, now 29 is 28.
To compare, right now, I'm 81st in line for
Okay,
one
see.
book with 4 copies in use and 111 people waiting in total.
Yeah, and Steve, I'm sorry, but you're gonna probably have to wait a little bit longer unless we get donations because I don't have money to add more copies
No,
until
I'm not-
January.
I'm just providing
So
comparative.
this really
information.
comes down to
It
really does.
It really does. I mean, I would love to get back to 1 to 5. I don't have it.
It's
And,
also space issues.
and space, you know, that's part of it. And it's also balancing though too, right?
we're working in space.
Yeah, because because do I buy 20 copies of Patterson so people don't have to wait and then get rid of them? Like give them back
Yeah,
to the
that's the
bin?
problem when it becomes not as popular 6 or a year
Yeah.
from now, you're stuck.
Well, we move them on. So it's balancing. Like I could reduce that wait list, but then I'd have nothing except those
Yeah,
review
where do you move
copies.
these excess books then, once the popularity?
Oh,
Oh, okay. So we're doing what we can. I'm just concerned about the
Advocate
people's
for more
reaction
money.
to it.
Advocate for more money. We did put a decision pack before council, and they said, yeah, people can wait. Right? That's what they said. So
So I do want to get through, I know
Sorry.
we have, I, these are really great questions, but we probably should want to move on a little bit to talk about, because that's just one piece of our collection. Bookmobile is the next piece, and just highlight some of the big differences.
Bookmobile collection again is also a popular collection, but it does provide materials to all ages. The adult materials, when they're no longer of value to the bookmobile, we look at those collections holistically. Bookmobile users can check out main collection can check out bookmobile. Once something is 2 years or older, that's adult, it goes to main. Children's materials on the bookmobile take a beating. By the time they're no longer useful on the bookmobile, yes.
I don't even think the friends want them.
I mean, and that collection has a little bit more durability, because things that are popular today, kids age out, but other kids are coming in. So it's different than.
Great. Next is our adult nonfiction. So Sarah can tell us about nonfiction, how that's a little bit different too.
Hello, Sarah Catalina, head of reference. I also have Catherine Stetcher here today, as well as Brian Lind, both reference librarians. Catherine is our main purchaser of gigantic non-print collection. So we have all the informational books, the Dewey Decimal Run, that whole thing, and I don't know what that part of the budget is at. It's
About $100,000 for the print materials from that. That's reference.
we do a lot of things. So we want to have the whole run, right? Can't just have all books on one of these subjects here. Want to maintain a current collection. Our holds ratio is about 5 per item, so we get a weekly report.
I get a report emailed to me every Wednesday, and I look at it and see what we need more copies of. If it's really high, then we'll add a quick pick, but we don't do that as much as fiction does. And we're able to maintain that pretty close to 5 holds per. I do want to mention that it's a little over 5. I often don't because it just kills me to get rid of a book after it's only circulated for a year, but we just don't have.
And you can tell when the popularity on something that we keep buying. Oh, we got to buy another one, buy another one, buy another one. You can tell when it's not popular when you see 5 copies sitting on the shelf. Because buy them because there's nothing on the shelf there for that when people go looking for that book. And then what we were talking about earlier, that demand management, when we have so many holds on items that they have that short loan period. So right now, the nonfiction DVDs and all of our books with more than 4 holds, that any of the checkouts will have. TV series, because those are often larger, those are actually, if there's at least one hold on a waiting copy, those hold. Questions about our nonfiction? Right, and youth is also, there's slight differences for our youth collection.
Heather Sarah, Head of Youth Services. So we have also a broad collection. We do the educational and informational and entertainment needs of kids and teens. So it's huge. We're doing the nonfiction and the fiction. So it's broad, but also we really try not to rely on holds because kids do not place holds in the same way that adults do. They want their thing now. It's popular now. They want to read it now. They don't have control over coming to the library. They don't necessarily get notifications for holds. So it's kind of a system they're left out of. So we buy a bazillion copies of the most popular thing. You can go in right now and see Raina Telgemeyer's drama. I think we have 35 copies of it. So there might actually be a couple of copies on the shelf. So that's kind of what we try to do is just minimize holds. So we have much lower holds ratios for kids and teen items and then much lower demand management. Our lowest demand management is actually a holiday book. If there's one hold on a holiday book, we shorten that loan to 2 weeks. And that's because holiday books are popular for the month of that holiday and then it's over. Questions about youth services?
And throughout the process, we're trying to do things to kind of reduce some of those barriers and to address some of the demand. Oh no, okay, good. I was thinking I'm gonna make it up. So book talk, we mentioned social media, that dries up. It's an unprecedented time, I think, for the craziness that happens with a book that is 5 years old and all of a sudden popular again. So we probably just needed, 10 copies and all of a sudden have to purchase it again. So that does affect us. And not everything's available in the format that we're able to purchase. And streaming is also kind of affecting us and does impact our collection. So folks who do not have streaming services rely on us to access these and shows that you can't get otherwise. Throughout the process, though, we also have our team that's working on just getting the materials to folks. And so Carrie can talk a little bit about what you do with your team to make sure that they get out and get into the hands of people as fast.
Sure. So technical service, I'm Carrie Ospey, I'm the head of technical services. So technical services takes the list provided by the selectors and we purchase them, invoice them, catalog them so you can put holes on them, process them, cover them so you can find them again and stuff. So we keep on top of ordering and recommending for purchase. We have been tracking when things that have, when things have holes, we do those first. Anytime we know something has a hold, it jumps to queue from a larger order that comes in. And that's even from, we know if it's a recommendation for purchase that's been approved, when it comes in and being invoiced, we can see there's a hold, it gets a blue slip, like you see on the cards there, that jumps to queue. We run lists every day. If another title has a hold on it now, because it missed the other 2 times, we grab those and make sure they're done first. Tracking it, like 30 to 40% of things that meet TS had a hold on it. So we're constantly doing those things first because we know someone's waiting for it. We do pay attention to that. Sometimes they slip through and we'll just find another report to run and find those too. Or if you're waiting for something to pass. One of the things we talked a lot about money, we did have to make a hard decision. During the pandemic, when we were ordering, they started putting fuel surcharges that they'd never charged before. So now we're paying a little bit more than we used to for ordering. And then they gave us the hard decision of paying extra to drop ship a popular title or waiting until we had 15 copies to ship and then not charging us extra. And financially, we made the decision to wait for 15 copies before they drop ship.
Who are they?
Ingram.
Oh.
Ingram Book Company is basically the one that is our major supplier, major jobber. We mostly get things from. So I have seen stuff like, I'm pretty sure that slowed down. What was Prince Spare. I think it slowed Spare down because we chose to have a number of copies, and I've seen a couple other titles as well. when we have to wait for 15 to ship. But again, that was a financial decision we made, so we didn't spend extra money to not be able to purchase.
So just real quick, I'll throw in there that we do have our special collections where you can not hold on items. That includes our items that we have on the book bike, things in the book box. We also do that quick pick, skip the line kind of option so that you can get those a little bit faster. It's kind of a big surprise when you visit a book box. Like get those and not put holes on them. And then some of the things that we've done, we've really simplified some of those loan rules, and we've cut back on the loan periods on those high demand titles. We've also lowered the threshold, so when people have a certain number of dollar items on their account that are lost, we put that a little bit higher during the pandemic because it was pandemic times and just getting there was a challenge. And then we have dropped that a little bit lower, acknowledging that we no longer have fines. So that's another way that we tried to kind of mitigate and get things back faster. Just to note, the last thing that I'll add is that we do have year to date 148,000 plus items that have been put on hold, but that is down from pandemic times when folks were really relying on places. So it is year to date items
January
placed
to
on
now.
hold. Yep, January to end
148,000.
So roughly about 20,000 a month, give or take. So it's a lot of items that our team, they go, they do the work, they pull it off the shelf, and they put it on our shelf to get it to people. So we're doing everything that we can to mitigate, but yeah, it does come back to a money issue. This is why we did prioritize this for the budget to put that in as it has. Now we are pretty confident that we'll have better data moving forward, so that if we see that our average wait time is increasing dramatically over the next few years. So, thank you for listening to that long explanation. I thought it was really important to cover all parts of all the parts of the puzzle on my.
Fantastic. I guess we have the last item, the 2023 to 25 library action.
Yeah, just wanted to see if there were questions about the action plan, any of the items that we were focusing on. I think we narrowed it down to 10 things, big projects that we'll be focusing on. Of course, watching the budget process to see if one of the really big projects that we have on the action plan, if that decision impact does get approved and the budget is moving along in a good positive direction. Do anticipate that will be there, but any questions on some of the other things that we talked about?
I don't have a question on any one specific item, but I did notice that there are a lot of them that the start date is September 1, and several of them are supposed to be done by the end of the year. So we're already a fourth of the way, almost a fourth of the way through, right? So do you feel confident that those items are going to be complete by the end of the year?
Yes, thank you for saying that. This really is, we do submit action plans to the city. So we have a citywide action plan in one centralized location. And this really is for 2023 through 2025. Part of it was kind of completing some of the 2023 things and starting some of those new 24, 25 items. So thank you, it's not just a year.
No, I know that it's not. It's clearly through 2025, but I did notice that there was some starting now and ending by the end of this year. There was some, thought I saw some that were ending this year. Maybe I'm wrong.
That
Maybe I'm
could be a
wrong.
typo.
I'm like, how are they getting it back in the next 3.5 months?
Or it could be something that we had already started.
Well, they had start dates of 9/1 is what I was looking. So there were several. There was like
Okay,
many that had a 9/1 start date and a couple that had a 10/1 start date. And then I looked at the completion date. Is that the actual completion date or the proposed completion date? I guess maybe
completion date, yes.
proposed completion. So maybe I didn't my printer wasn't working, so I didn't get printed out, but, I was just wanted to feel confident that anything that you had starting this
Yeah.
year with an end date of 12/31/23, you feel confident that that'll be completed on time.
Yes. In my quick review, these are accurate.
Youth services computer, is that what the one top one says, where that looks like it's a 9/1/23 to a 12/1/23? So that's just, I think, just deploying.
And then it says reviewing Q1 and Q2 updates. What am I missing?
Yeah, so those ones that don't have a quarter one status or a quarter two status were things that we added with this past summer when we updated this stuff. So we had been working off of a 2022-2023 action plan, and so things that don't have a status update, they were just and some added because they were added, some added because they had not been. Right.
Any additional questions?
So,
In favor?
Yeah,
got a little bit
so,
from Maria.
so are you,